Hello everybody, and welcome to our live stream, Self-Publishing Questions Answered, where our members, the Alliance of Independent Authors members, pose their most pressing self-publishing questions to me and to Michael Ronn, who's with me here. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Orna, how are you today?
I'm very good. And you?
I'm fantastic.
Great. Okay, so folks, the drill here is that our members have submitted some questions to us. Michael has selected the questions that are most representative of the issues that most authors encounter. Of course, we have our member support desk for people's one-to-one questions, but these are questions that touch on problems that lots of we get lots of the same question over and over. We get it lots. So without further ado, Michael, shall we launch into the questions?
All right, let's do it. Our first question is from Norm, and the question is, can I publish my book on Smashwords and Amazon at the same time?
Yes, you can. And the thing is that you don't use Smashwords to distribute to Amazon as well. So if you're going to use any aggregator, be it Smashwords, PublishDrive, Streetlib, Draft to Digital, these are the ones that ALLi recommends and that most ALLi members use. No matter which distributor you're using or aggregator. So just to pause for a moment and say there are two ways to get your books out into the world. We're talking ebooks here. If we're talking Smashwords and KDP, I think our questioner is talking about ebooks. So there are two ways you can get your book onto a platform. You either upload it directly to Amazon, to Apple, to Google Play, to whomever, or you use an aggregator who distributes to lots of different outlets on your behalf. So Smashwords is one of those aggregators. As I said, others are PublishDrive, Draft Digital, and Streetlib, all excellent distributors and all overlapping to some extent. So what you have to do is make sure that you don't have two distribution channels feeding into the same place. So if you're going to use Smashwords to distribute outside of Amazon, make sure you deselect Amazon within the Smashwords ecosystem. And same applies to any of the others. We have some members who use all of those aggregators because each of them does things in a slightly different way and reaches different outlets. But in each case, you must make sure that you don't tick the same box in two different places.
All right, perfect. And our next question is from Sharon. And Sharon asks, I have everything that I need, cover design, my book has been edited, it's been formatted, but I just have no idea where to self-publish or how to self-publish. Is there any guidance that you can give for someone who has no idea where to start?
Sure. Well, start with our guidebooks, because they will give you the basics. And as I'm talking to Michael here, let us mention Michael's book, which is 150 self-publishing questions answered, and it is broken down across the 7 processes of publishing. So editorial, design, formatting, you've done all that. Production. Now you need to look at distribution, which is the 4th stage. Where do you actually put it out? And that connects to the question we just answered there a moment ago about the aggregators and the going direct. And then after distribution, you'll need to look at marketing and promotion, and eventually, a little while down the line, it seems impossible, but there will come a time where you will probably also look at rights licensing. But for now, what you're looking at is distribution. So if you just grab Michael's book, it's freely available to all members in ebook form in the member zone. Or if you prefer a print copy, you can buy that at selfpublishingadvice.org or on all the retailers because it's well distributed. And in there, just go straight to the distribution section and all your questions will be answered there about ebook distribution, print book distribution, and indeed audiobook also.
All right. Our next question is a multi-part question, Orna. This is from Nadija, and looks like Nadija originally published his or her book through a vanity publisher and decided that they got out of the contract. Thank goodness, right? And then they want to know, what is the best way to republish this book. So the first question is, if I republish it by myself, will it be considered a second edition?
Yes, is the short answer. Probably best to do that, to put some distance between yourself and the previous publication. You might even consider going so far as to change the title and change metadata completely, so it is seen as a different book. You may not want to do that, and it's optional. But other people in your situation have done that because they really want to put clear blue water between themselves and that previous book. So yes, you'll have, if you keep the title, you'll have no choice but to call it a second edition, because you won't be able to go in and just upload on top of what they've uploaded already. They'll have different distribution streams to the ones that are available to you as a self-publisher. So short answer is yes.
Okay. And then the second part of the question is, can I use the same ISBN number?
No, neither for a second edition, or if you change anything significant about the metadata, you need a new ISBN number.
Okay. And then the next part of the question is, will it be worth establishing my own LLC company in order to publish?
You don't need to get into that at this point in time, unless you really want to. So you can just set up as a freelance operator for now, and when you have some money coming through in a while, you can look at the advantages and disadvantages of incorporation. There are pluses and minuses on both sides, but unless your book is a non-fiction book, which might have legal issues associated with it, maybe libel issues or something like that, there's no need to rush to incorporation. I was self-publishing for almost a decade before I incorporated. So it's not you can function completely as a freelance operator. It does vary in different territories in terms of the advantages and disadvantages. And so you'd need, Nadisha, to look at your own area, your own territory, speak to your own tax office and so on. But I think at this point where you're, getting a book back into publication, all your focus should be on that. You'll have enough tasks to be doing without thinking about those kinds of managerial tasks, which, as I said, I think you're better off doing down the line. What do you think, Michael?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, to me, I believe that there's a benefit to at least being a sole proprietor or sole trader. I don't see anything wrong with that, and I would do that for at least tax purposes. Being able to claim some of those expenses on your taxes. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about incorporating. The question of whether you do a sole proprietor or an LLC, LLC is a pretty good thing to do. There are some administrative extra things that you need to do with an LLC. So just at least make sure you understand what those are. And then if you do set up an LLC, just do a little bit of research, YouTubing, Googling on ways to make sure you can set your LLC up correctly so that you actually get the benefits of the LLC. Because a lot of people will set those up but not really understand what they're doing with it. So just make sure you understand that. But your choice on whether you do an LLC or sole trader, I would not incorporate until you start making a lot of money.
Great. And Zachary has a side question actually based on the first part of the question. Could it not be a marketing strategy to market it as a second edition, especially if it's nonfiction, perhaps revised and expanded second edition? So great question, Zachary, and thank you for asking it. The answer to that is it all depends on how the first book went. And I have to confess that I am assuming that because it was vanity published and because she's taken her rights back, that it didn't go anywhere. And unless a book has actually had some success, it's not a good marketing strategy to associate with the book. So the answer is in cases of successful first editions, absolutely link them as much as you possibly can. Where things sometimes, though, the first edition isn't something that we're rushing to claim, and in that case, it can make sense to just let it quietly fall away.
Agree. All right. So our next question is from Millie, and this is a bit of a complicated question. There's some legal pieces here, but it's a rights sales question. So Millie had a piece that was recently published in a magazine that basically said that the published work in the magazine remains the property of the author. She just gave the magazine a license to print what was in the article. The magazine is sold through Amazon, and they give her a code so that she can access the magazine for free. All right, so that's kind of the setup. The question is, are there any legal restrictions on the author screenshotting those pages from the magazine to share them on, say, the author's website or with friends?
It would be a tough old magazine that would come and not want you to do that and come down hard on you for doing that. Having said that, the actual layout and the structure of those pages belongs to them and doesn't really belong to you, but they may very well be delighted to have the author going out on social media and spreading the word. So I wouldn't think of it as a legal issue so much as just a courtesy that you would just ask them and let them know what you intend to do, and just run it by them and say, look, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I intend to do. I just thought I'd better check in with you first, make sure you guys are okay with it. 99.9 times out of 100, they're going to be only too pleased.
Right. Yeah, I would say, just know what I know. Read your contract first and foremost. Read your contract. It sounds like it's probably fine. But when you publish in a magazine, you give the magazine a license usually to be the first exclusive publication. It's called first serial rights for publishing your article. Now, if you're taking a screenshot to say, "Oh, look, Mom, I got published in blah 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 magazine," fine. I mean, no one's going to care about that, and you share that on social media or you share it with your friends. A different story if you're taking screenshots of it to publish it on your own website. Right. I mean, typically you're going to want to give that magazine a courtesy, and first serial rights usually have a timeline on them. So it might be for the first 30 days, you can't do anything else with it, or the first 60 days, you can't do anything else with it. So, if you signed a license agreement with the magazine, just look at that. That usually will guide you. And when in doubt, reach out to the magazine and ask them. But if you're just sharing on social media to let people know that you're in the magazine, I see no issues with that.
Yes, and regular listeners will know that Michael is our go-to legal man who always takes the legal line. So, which is great. Thank you.
All right. So let's see. Next question here is from Wayne. And Wayne is in the process of publishing a book, and he basically is trying to get reviews, but there are two questions. The first is with aggregators. All right. What is the best pricing strategy for aggregators? Because they're running into issues where if they do a $9.99 ebook and $12.99 paper, and then they set the Ingram price, they don't want to undercut Amazon, because Amazon has those terms of service, right, where they have to be the cheapest one in town. What is the recommended pricing if you're going to be pricing your ebook if you're going to be pricing your book in ebook, paper, and on Ingram Spark?
It's hard to give a general answer to this one, isn't it? Without, I can only give kind of general principles. So the first thing is, how are you actually deciding your share of the income? And that tends to vary across ebook, print, and audio. People have different ways of kind of looking at it. So you can either be saying, okay, I'm going to say, for example, with the print book with Ingram and KDP print, you may say, okay, I'm going to set the price at a level where I get $2 commission payment. $2 is left to me out of what goes in there, and you set your book price up to that level when you're uploading it. I suspect that you may also be referring to the issue that was there with Google Play, which they were kind of they were causing problems, a lot of problems for independent authors and publishers in terms of what they were doing with prices. They would lower their pricing, but still charge, you would still get the full royalty, but they hadn't figured for the fact that Amazon, as soon as it's all lower price, was going to take its price down and kind of play around with you. That issue is now, as to our knowledge, that is now okay. This is not happening anymore. So it's much easier than it used to be to go in and set a consistent price across the board, and keeping in mind, as you say, that Amazon likes to be the cheaper player, and also keeping in mind that buyers on different platforms are more or less price sensitive. So, Apple buyers are known to be less sensitive to pricing than Amazon buyers. And in fact, on some of those platforms, actually pricing your book too low can lead to less sales rather than more. So you don't have to have, this is the second or third principle that in this answer, you don't have to have the same price on every store. But without knowing more about your book and your aims for it and, the specifics around your own publishing situation, it's hard to say exactly what you should or shouldn't do in each of the different formats. But hopefully those guidelines were of some help. Anything to add, Michael?
No, I don't have anything else to add. So you answered that. It was actually a two-part question, and you answered the second part of the question. So it was
okay. Good.
All right. This is more of just a question in general. This is from Steve, and I'll read most of the question here. So, in these days of print on demand, is there an explanation for the extraordinary number of used copy sales which supply books in perfect condition and even arrive with a new smell? I'm presuming he's referring to on Amazon. So, on Amazon, sometimes you'll see with like self-published books, for example, you'll see like one of my books. I see this all the time. One of my books is available for, a penny or, less than what I typically charge for it. And it is, considered basically almost perfect. Do you happen to have any insight into how that happens and why?
Yeah, it does happen through the distribution chain, and it is to do with print on demand. You can try to get, if you have a specific book that is clearly undercutting your sales on Amazon, you can actually, attempt to have that removed with varying levels of success. So what's happening here is you've got different sorts of ways of accessing the Amazon retail store. And we go in through KDP and through Ingram Spark, which then kind of supply Amazon. There's also an overlap because a lot of KDP books are actually printed by Ingram as well. So it's all very confusing over there in print land, in POD land. So you've got the Amazon seller marketplace, which is a different way for bookstores to actually sell books, and then online bookstores can adopt the Ingram catalog, and those books then end up being shown on, and sometimes, as you say, the pricing can really go askew. So yeah, the advice is to take it up with Amazon and see what you can make happen there. And Ingram Spark may be able to help, but they're likely to actually tell you to go to Amazon about it.
Yeah, and then another thing you have to consider too is that the reason this is not exactly the answer to the question, but it's kind of a issue that comes up sometimes too, is that Amazon will not allow you to delist a book, at least the print edition. So like, for example, if you unpublish a book, the print edition will still remain. And that is because Amazon wants anyone who has a used copy of the book to be able to sell it at any point in the future. And so it could be that maybe someone bought your paperback and they want to sell it. They don't want to use it anymore, which goes back to the used copy question. Carol in the comments says that I'm having that problem. Amazon are somehow selling my books in hard copy when I'm the only one who has the hard copy stock? So that kind of goes back to your
Yeah, I think in
point,
that
Orna.
situation, Carol, what's happening is perhaps, and if you used KDP print and Ingram Spark, sorry, it sounds like you didn't use KDP print, that you only printed off yourself, but did you use Ingram Spark as your fulfillment? If you did, perhaps you neglected to opt out of Amazon, in which case the books will automatically go from Ingram to Amazon. So that might have been what happened in your case. Again, a lot of this, the information we can give in this show about such questions have to be just general principles, and each individual author can have, it's a complex world out there, POD print and print books generally, and their distribution is an absolute minefield. So it's impossible for us to say exactly what's happening in a particular situation, but it strikes me that might be what's happening with you, Carol.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so we have another question here from Yolanda. And the question is from Yolanda, I've recently gotten my manuscript back from my editor, and I'm currently working on the final edit. Should I do my formatting myself?
There is no should here. So it's really your choice, Yolanda. A lot of indie authors do their own formatting for cost reasons and for control reasons, particularly their ebooks. It depends, a lot depends. If it's a simple, straightforward, a simple text book, nonfiction or fiction, then there are lots of great tools out there that will help you to format the book. I personally use Vellum. Michael uses Vellum also, but there are lots and lots of options for you. And we've just recently on the ALLi blog actually done, we just realized, it was hilarious, we just realized we had never done a blog post which said how to format an ebook.
Really?
Which is such, it
Wow.
had been a complete oversight. It was so obvious we never kind of did it, or we did it so long ago that it's no longer relevant. So we have a very recent blog post which you can just go to selfpublishingadvice.org and search format an ebook, and you'll get the full drill on the different tools that are available to you. Lots of feedback by our members on what they actually do, and also the option of hiring a formatter. If you just don't want to be doing with all that, you want to get on and write the next book, and you don't want to get involved with the production at all, and time is more precious to you than money, then the option of how to hire a formatter and how to instruct them and what you're looking for and so on.
Okay. Yep, I agree with all of that. Our next question is from Jill. And the question is, are there any newer printing companies with better prices and good quality that you're aware of possibly? So the question is not specified in terms of what types of printing you're looking for. So I guess maybe before we answer that, could you tee this up with like a breakdown of what print on demand is versus offset printing? Because I think that's probably an important thing to understand too before going into answering this.
Okay, sure. So the first thing is it's impossible to actually make a recommendation because we're a global organization, and we can't keep abreast of every printer in every English-speaking territory around the world. So that's not a kind of a recommendation that we can give for consignment print. So as Michael says, let's just talk about what we're talking about here. So we've already discussed print on demand, POD, which is something that you do through Amazon KDP print. Or Ingram Spark. That's our recommendation, not or, and Ingram Spark. Our recommendation is to use both, opting out of Amazon in the Ingram Spark system, opting out of expanded distribution in the Amazon ecosystem. So once you've done that, you're properly set up for POD. But you may also want to supply your, local bookstores, or have a supply yourself if depending on how you distribute your books. You may also want to order a consignment of print books, which you are going to maybe sell direct from your website, or perhaps you have a market stall at the weekends, or, there are lots of reasons why you might want to do that. And you certainly get better value per copy of the book. In other words, the book will, at the same level of quality, and the same level of, of the thickness of paper, robustness of cover, and all of that kind of thing, it's cheaper to have a consignment print than it is to go POD, for obvious reasons. If you print on demand, you're printing one at a time. A printer who can do 500, 1,000 or more at a time can get you a much better price per copy, and the more you print, the cheaper that per copy price gets. But it can be extremely expensive, as a lot of our members know, because fine if you sell out all 500 or all 1,000 or however many you have printed off. But if you don't, if you only sell 10, then the cost of those books is the full cost of the print run, and therefore you're out of pocket. So yeah, knowing the difference and knowing what your need is for print. So what are you trying to achieve with your print book? What is the goal? That is the big question. A lot of indie authors just kind of automatically fall into thinking about print books and opting to do print books first, just because they've grown up with print or they assume that's the way it should be. But in actual fact, most of our members make far more money from their ebook and audiobook sales than they do from their print sales. And print is the most complex of the three formats in terms of distribution. So for lots of indie authors, print is coming in at number 3. But the thing is, what is your goal for your print book? Do you want to be in your local bookstore? Do you want to be in a bookstore chain? Are you happy to just sell online? If you're happy to just sell online through Amazon, then you're best to not think about consignment print at all, just to POD. But if you have a different goal, then you may well do better with a consignment run.
Agree. Okay. The next question is a great question, and that is from Linda. How do I add the ALLi badge to my website?
Okay, the instructions for that, I don't have them off the top of my head, but the instructions for that should be in your downloadable PDF that you got when you joined, how to make the most of my membership. And you're able to find them if you log in to the member zone and you go to how to make the most of my membership, then you'll find the full instructions are there for you.
Yes, and don't forget to use your affiliate link with your badge as well. That's a important thing to not forget.
Good point, Michael. I'll pick up on that as you raised it. So you can do your badge in 2 different ways. If you want to use it as an affiliate link, and Michael does, and lots of our members do, because they get back essentially their membership fees through displaying the badge. When somebody clicks on the badge and goes through, then we credit, if they join, we credit our existing member with 30% of the joiner's fee. And so, yeah, lots of our members, as I said, use it some use it actually as a small little income stream each month, but lots of people find that they get their member fees back by using the badge in that way. So both options are available to you. If you don't want to do that, and some people don't, I'm not sure why, but they don't, you can download the straight badge, and you can also just go to the affiliate section on the member zone and you'll find all the different badge options that we have there, and also a text affiliate option if you would like to email your friends and tell them why they should join ALLi.
Yes, indeed. And I think we've come to our final question, Orna. And this is from Maria. And this is a I guess this is more of a UK question. And that is that Maria has finished her book, independently published it, and discovered that all books are supposed to be submitted to the British Library within a month of publication. She was not aware of that and was wanting to know, first, does that apply to indies? And then second, what is the process of potentially doing that? And then third, is there a penalty for not having known and then submitting late?
Okay, so first question, yes, it does apply to indies. So you are a publisher, just like everybody else, and the libraries of record want a copy of your book for the record. So yeah, it is a legal requirement in the UK and in some other territories, not everywhere. So yes, you are expected to submit. if you just Google how to submit my book to the British Library or to the Library of Congress, I think it is in the States.
Yes.
Yeah, if you just Google, you'll get the full instructions. It's basically you send them a copy of your print book. We are lobbying for them to allow ebooks to be sent because there is a cost. You have to send 6 here in the UK because there are 6 libraries of record, and it's quite a significant cost for a small publisher. And also, where are they putting them all?
Yeah.
And also, why aren't they accepting digital? So there will be I think there will be a shift to digital in time. In reply to the third part of the question, it's fine to submit late. Don't worry about that. There are lots of people not submitting at all, and it's a big headache for the library as to how they're going to manage this exploding world of self-publishing that nobody kind of anticipated when it was all set up. So if you want to bear with it and wait for a little while, you'll be fine. But if you want to fulfill your legal requirement, Michael would say, do it, and do it now.
Yes, do it and do it now. And wow, I did not know that about the British Library. There's 6 different. I mean,
6, Oxford,
as much as
Dublin.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and that's I guess I suppose say what we want about the United States copyright system. At least we can submit ebooks.
Yes.
That's
yes.
boy, that sounds like an administrative nightmare.
It's
you got to
time.
pay 6 different copies in physical too. Wow.
Yeah, well, it's got to be print. Yeah, so Carol is kindly giving us all the
okay.
It's Trinity College Dublin, Cambridge University Library, Edinburgh University Library, Oxford University Library, and the British Library London.
Wow.
So yeah, it's Ireland, Scotland, Wales isn't there for some reason, don't know why, but yeah, that's okay. British Library and other libraries, we have enough. Don't add any.
So all right, well those are our questions for the month.
Okay, so thank you so much, everyone, for your questions. Sending them in to be publicly answered like this really helps other authors to make their decisions when they're in a similar situation to you. And every question that gets asked, there are hundreds of indies who are looking at the same thing at the same time. So yeah, keep on sending your questions in, please, members. We are delighted to receive them. And yeah, we'll be back next month. Michael won't be with us. He's taking a vacation. But somebody else will join me in the hot seat and we'll answer your questions again. So yeah, until then, happy writing and happy publishing. Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.